In this video, we're going to take a look at a slightly more advanced topic, which is creating your own database before you can install WordPress. Not every hosting provider will create a database for you by default, so you may need to do this yourself. This is a demo of cPanel, a very popular control panel that I happen not to use on my hosting, but it's common and I thought I'd show it to you. So when you're logged in here, you have a databases section and you have MySQL databases. So you're going to want to create one of these. So we'll click this. This being a demo, there are a million demo databases in here. But what needs to happen is you need to have a database and you need to create a MySQL user that can access that database. So what you would do is create a database here called WordPress or whatever you want to call it and click Create Database. This being a demo, it's not going to work, but after you've done that, it will show up in this list down here. And as you can see, this users column is currently blank. For this to be useful to you, you need to have a user. To do that, you'd go down here and create a username. So again, you can use WordPress. In cPanel, it limits the number of characters, but something like this. You'd create a password. I'm going to create a terrible one because we're just walking through this right now. And then you would create the user. So having done that, you would have a user, but it's not attached to the database yet. It's just a kind of freestanding WordPress user. So what you would do then is add the user to a database, select it from this pop-up menu, and select the right database here, and click Add. Having done that, you'd be all set and you could do your WordPress installation. Just remember your username, including this bit at the beginning, the password that you created for it, and the database name. So that's how you do it using the cPanel front end. You can also, even in cPanel, do it from phpMyAdmin. Most hosting providers provide this. For this to work, you need to have an administrative username and password for your MySQL system. So you just fill it in and log in. And here you are. So depending on your version of phpMyAdmin, things could look a little different, but what you'll do to create a database is hit the Databases tab. And here we are, create a new database. So I'm going to create a new one. Let's just call it WordPress. You can leave this in its default setting, but if you want to set something specific, you can use UTF-8_general_CI. That will cover pretty much any language, any kind of data. If you have another setting that you know is the right one for you, feel free to choose it, but this is what I would encourage you to use by default. And create the database. Now it tells me the database has been created. Indeed, there it is. So that's part one. I've created the database. Now, just like I did in cPanel, I need to create a user for it, which in phpMyAdmin is done under privileges. So here are some users that I have in the system already. I'm going to create a new one. So for the username, let's go with WordPress user. You can call this anything you want. Host. Choose localhost, which means that this user will be allowed to connect to the MySQL database only from the web server itself. When you're in a situation like this where the database server and the web server are the same machine, this is a good idea. That way nobody can log into your database from any other computers. For the password, you can leave this as use text field and fill in something. phpMyAdmin also offers no password. Not a good idea, really. You want to make sure there's a password attached to your database. So we'll create a password. You can also generate one. If you do that, it will show you what it is here and fill it in ways that you can't see up there. Either way. You could also do this such that a database is created with the same name and grant all privileges to it. But we're going to do this all manually so you can see the whole process. So leave this as none for now. Global privileges are the privileges that this user will have across all databases that are running on this instance of MySQL. We don't need any of these. So, create the user. There it is. So let's click Edit Privileges next to this new user so we can grant the privileges of that user on the database. Again, here we have global privileges. So we'll scroll down a little bit. And here's what we want, database-specific privileges. So I want to allow this user to access a particular database, the one we created called WordPress. It instantly reloads. And now, depending on the security setup on your server, you can select a limited number of these. But since we're just talking about a single database, I usually just check all and give this user all the privileges. Click Go. And now, WordPress user has full access to WordPress, the database, with the username and password that you created. So if you note all the details, the username and password, localhost, and the database name, you'll have everything you need to fill in your WP config file, and you'll be ready to install WordPress. So that's an overview of a couple of different ways that you can create your own MySQL database in situations where you need to.